Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Occupy Pro Wrestling Live, where we're here to talk about our reactions to AEW's All Out pay-per-view. I'm Alex Smiley. I'm on a slow simmer in this 90-plus degree weather. I'm joined, as always, by my pals and compatriots. First up, Chris, aka T-Bone, aka T-Bone is live on the Twitch. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
AKA the winner.
Indeed, we'll get to that. We will get to that. I apologize in advance for my slight shortness and snappiness. I'm really exhausted and heat-stricken.
Aren't we all? But we're doing this anyway.
So,
I mean, let's go.
I'm also joined at this time by my pal James, aka JJ Titan Dog 70 on the Twitch. How are you doing tonight, James?
Yeah, AKA the loser.
I'm just.
I'm fine. I'm an air. I may have been the loser, but at least I'm in.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, hey, let's get
Yes.
going, right? Because we just did All Out,
Do it.
and that was awesome. What do you guys think of the show? Just real quick.
Overall, I
kinda
quite enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did too.
It's something we briefly discussed before we started tonight. It did start to go a little long, but
It's midnight now here on the East Coast
Yeah.
as we go ahead and go live anyway. But
other than that,
so nearly
but
4 hours.
at least it was that long, that much of like good wrestling content, in my opinion. So yeah, overall I liked it.
Long in the tooth. Yeah.
It's such a
It's
weird
okay.
contrast because then lately the WWE shows have been like less than
Yeah.
2 hours.
Like their pay-per-views,
So-
like their
Yeah.
pay-per-views being shorter than an
Like
episode of Raw.
that.
Like when
Yeah.
we did payback reaction last week, we were doing this at like 9:45. I'm like, oh, that's great. Now it's midnight. Oof.
Yeah,
But I'm
I
here.
like
Let's
that.
do it. All right.
Yeah. It was faster. It was
Yeah.
So let's do. We
All
do. We have our predictions from Thursday, obviously, and then we can go just kind of break down the matches and the show and whatever else we need to talk about. So let's start with, of course, the opening match. There was a couple of matches on the buy-in that were not booked at the time of our show
This
on
is true.
Thursday, and to be honest, it didn't really matter. But Joey Janela defeated Serpentico, and then the Private Party defeated 3 and 4 of the Dark Order. So I think that's what Alex Silvers and John Reyes or something.
Alex Reynolds and John.
Oh,
and John
Alex
Silver.
Reynolds and
Yeah.
John Silver. 3 and 4. That's how.
That's okay.
That's how.
That's okay.
He just flipped them. He flipped them. Actually, that sounded like better names. Actually.
Ryan Silvers and Alex. Anyway,
Ryan
we
Silver,
did open the
Alex
show.
Reynolds.
We did open the show with Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D versus Big Swole in Tooth and Nail match. So
Yeah,
it was
did you know she was a dentist?
I
That's the
was not
rumor
aware
going
until
around
tonight,
on the street.
Yeah, I did not know that. I didn't
guess-
know that either.
I guess Reba's a receptionist too, so that's cool. Maybe she's a dental assistant. Anyway,
Grievous the Rece- What?
we did. It was a cinematic. Blah. That's why it's midnight. It's a
Cinnamon, yes.
cinematic.
It's a cinematic, yeah, cinematic match. I got you.
Cinematic match.
Cinematic match to open up the night.
Cinematic match.
I appreciate it though because it was short and sweet, and I got the first point of the night because Big Swole won over Dr. Baker. But what did you all think about this match? It was different from. It's more of what we've seen on WWE lately with their cinematic matches, but very low key because there's no like mystical fireness or magic
Yeah.
like Bray Wyatt does.
I mean, overall, I mean, it was decent. I don't like the outcome because if you're trying to establish, coming back as
Yeah.
the heel of the women's division, she probably should have won that match and everything to bring her back and affirm.
Right.
I think you could maybe have Big Swole come in and do a regular wrestling match. If you're trying to establish her as the evil heel of the women,
Yeah,
Alright,
no,
Alex.
no.
the
Yeah,
name
no,
is.
for sure.
Hold on,
You
James.
should have probably had it. But it was a good match.
Hold on, James, because you're cutting
Well,
out
the
again.
good,
Alex.
well, the good news is I have a good enough amount of agreement with James. I can reiterate what he said. Basically, yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you on that, James. I do kind of feel like if you were going to establish, Britt Baker as, she's finally returning from injury and she's really pushing this, kind of this heel type character. I feel like a win for Baker would have been really good because as it is, this whole feud is the whole feud leading into it kind of was on this weird. It started out on this weird kind of hinge of, is Baker even going to be cleared to wrestle at All Out? And to be completely honest, if I had one complaint about the match, it's the fact that this match and the way everything went, I'm not fully convinced that she was actually ready to return to wrestle, if I'm being completely honest. That's probably the only real gripe I have about it. What was presented I quite liked. I do like that they took a chance on an actual cinematic match like this. This was I like the setting and all of it, but I do kind of worry about Britt Baker's status now because it's like, was she ever really ready to come back? What was the point of doing this match now if they weren't sure? There's just a lot of questions about it. But again, the match itself I quite liked. What about you, Chris?
I mean, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was short and sweet. Got to the point. I disagree. I think Big Swole should have won because she's being positioned as like the hero of the women's division. And I know it's kind of weird because we have Hikaru Shida, who's the women's champion, but the women's division in AEW is so thin that you have to build characters any chance you get. So Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D, put respect on the name, is a very established character because she has been on the shows consistently for the last 5 or 6 months, just being a dick.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you.
Right.
That's fair, but
I think she needed it more, and I think the right person won because we need to just establish more characters in the women's division of AEW. I mean, they brought in someone outside of AEW to challenge the champion. That's how thin the roster is right now.
Yeah.
But I did call the drill scene.
Thanks for that, James.
In the prediction show, I did call the drill.
That's the last thing I wanted to do. I'm like, look,
but she didn't even use she didn't even use a dental drill. She used an actual drill.
Wait a minute.
She should have been the dental drill. I would have been scared.
I got one of those in my utility closet.
But then again, considering she is a dentist, in case you've forgotten, she probably would have tried to actually.
Then again, I don't have D&D at the end of my name, so what do I know?
Right. Hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. Let's just say.
Because it could have been say ah.
But yeah, no.
The Novocaine bit was funny, I think, to me though.
Yes, that was. I'll be honest too. That was.
That was fun. I'll give him that one. I can't lie. That was fun.
Just to be real for a second. I've had I had 2 root canals once. It's not fun. So I didn't want to be reminded of that. So the moment y'all were telling me about this even being in a dentist office, I was like, oh boy. I don't know, man. But no, I liked it overall.
So we know Alex is fear now.
Y'all know what gets me weak in the knees, and not in a good way, and that is dentist office.
Yeah, not in a good way. All right.
So I think we got it there. It was a short match. We don't need to spend much time there. Ooh, wow.
Yeah. Next one.
So the next one was our Broken Rules match. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. Matt loses AEW. Of course, Matt was never going to lose because he's not leaving AEW, so he did win. Although, as we probably all know by now, and I've seen a lot of comments already in some other places about this match, it was really weird. All right, because partway through the match, Sammy Guevara speared Matt Harvey, right? Oh no!
Oh Harvey!
Hold on, Mike Adamley.
Oh Harvey!
That's a callback. Yeah, that's a callback. No, Matt Hardy. He speared Matt Hardy off of a forklift into a table. Matt Hardy missed the table and
hit the floor.
Straight to the floor.
Bam! That was nasty.
And so they stopped
the match bad
for a bit to check on Matt Hardy, and they didn't really explain what was happening. And then they restarted the match, and then they went to the finish. And I even said it in my chat. I even said it to you guys. I think Matt Hardy was actually pretty hurt, and they he needed to win the match, so they just went straight to the finish to
I agree.
The match, because it was just a couple brawling, and then Sammy Guevara goes through the stage, and that was that.
I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was gonna say I was trying to keep up on some of this stuff going on Twitter, and I was reading that apparently it seemed, and I think AEW did release a statement on it. I think the situation was that the doctor checked on Hardy, and when they had determined that he could actually continue, like that's why they went back, like that's why they went ahead and started the match back up, and then you said, Chris, they basically called an audible and went straight to the finish because of the situation. So it was a rough match to watch.
I'm thankful though, because if it was another 20-minute match, we'd still be watching AEW right now.
This is true. I don't know. I think the only thing I really want to say any further on it is that I hope Matt's okay. I'm hoping all the best for him, because that's always rough to see.
Yeah, it was a bad spot. I mean, it was just they went up there and he just supposed to come down. He just completely missed, and if it wasn't for the stipulation, the match would have ended right there.
Yeah.
We said that too. I think we're like, they had to finish the match.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to explain why
they had to finish it.
And AEW on Wednesday.
He was out.
A lot of people complain about this, but just because it was like a medical situation.
The thing that probably was bad was the announcers probably didn't know, like they weren't.
Right,
they weren't. Like the announcers didn't really know what was going on. They weren't. No one was talking to them, so they were trying to cover. So confused themselves that it kind of made it a little bit worse in the manner.
I know, they came up with an excuse about it. They were
probably genuinely concerned.
No, I agree. Yeah. So overall, it was.
But and you could see he was bad because Sammy tried to pick him up, and you could see he. They came up, they checked him out, we finished.
Whatever. I mean, overall,
Sammy probably because Sammy was trying to stretch it out. He took off his clothes. He was like trying to stretch it out.
Yeah.
So like I said, it was fine. I said I hope he's okay, and like I said, you knew he wasn't losing. Yeah. We already knew that. We all knew he wasn't going to lose that match.
That's fine. All right. So let's go ahead up to the next match then, and that was the Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks in a tag team match. Sadly, very, very sadly, the Young Bucks won.
Hey, I needed the point, so I'm okay with it. But even
I don't care about the point.
Even I kind of wanted I wanted to see the Jurassic Express win. But I knew in my head that I needed to be the one to pick the Bucks if I wanted any chance of not losing this thing entirely.
I mean, I know, like if it mattered so much to me.
In my head, I agree with you.
I knew the Bucks were winning. I even said it on Thursday. The Bucks are winning, but I picked Jurassic Express because I don't like the Bucks, and I don't like the Bucks. And now I'm afraid they're canceling their heel turn, which means I'm going to like them even less.
I mean, honest with you, like I said, it would have made more sense for Jurassic Express to win in this thing because they were going the heelish route. And here's the thing: I mean, the match itself wasn't that bad. I actually I did like.
I love it because Jungle Boy's great. Doing all the finishes.
Yeah,
I like them. I actually, honest with you, I really do like Jurassic Express. I like Jurassic Express. I loved what they. I do boy out there, but it was a great match. And then they started doing all these finishes.
That's what the Young Bucks
was driving me mad. I was like, end it right here.
That's why they are killing the business because all they do was false finishes in their entire matches, and which is
another. I hated it, and I just started hating it.
Yeah.
And then it went me from liking the match to hating the match. Like that, and it's just like, why did you do?
Yeah,
I mean that's fair to be honest.
But yes, wrong.
I mean, I've come to expect it from them, so it doesn't really bother me anymore.
I'm a weird figure on that one. It's just, and I know nothing against the Bucks. I mean, nothing against the Bucks, but it's just
I don't like
that. I understand. But I will say this much though. I think. Like as far as like my picking the Bucks, I remember even thinking like, well, the change in attitude and everything going on with the Bucks means one of two things. It means they're either more certainly going to win the match at All Out, or something's gonna like affect their ability to actually focus or whatever, and that would cost them the match. But as it is, we get that's what we got. I'll talk a little bit more about the Bucks later.
And they were the heels in the match.
Yeah,
I mean, they were the real heels in this match. It's just like you're healing it up, but now you okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, so after that, we did the Casino Battle Royale. 21 top rope. And the Murder Hawk Monster. I don't know why he's also the monster when he's the Murder Hawk. I didn't catch when that changed over. He used to just be the Murder Hawk, but now he's the Murder Hawk Monster. Lance Archer did take the victory.
Poor Matt Sydal.
Poor Matt Sydal. Oh god! It's just he had to like. Do you remember the story of WWE when he was, he was formerly born in WWE? He had to prove that he could hit the shooting star press consistently and safely, like in the early days.
And he
did. And I could not help but think that when he went up to the top rope, it just slipped right off. Now, I mean, there's they even mentioned it was like 95 degrees and 100% humidity down there. I'm sure the ropes were slick.
Yeah, the ropes were slippery. Yeah, the turnbuckle was slippery. Probably sweating because they're getting their heads. People getting their heads smashed on it, sweating on it, and but God, that was just bad. And I like Matt Sydal a lot.
Couple highlights. There was Darby Allin getting put into a body bag with thumbtacks and taking a really awful bump. AKA, they just kind of threw him and just hoped he was okay. Which was and then everyone else had to deal with the thumbtacks,
and then there was thumbtacks still in the ring.
I know, everyone else had to deal with them.
I mean, couldn't you have done it better? Yeah, couldn't you have done it better when you opened the bag up and kind of made sure they stayed in the bag? I mean, he could have just been more careful. I mean, that's easy. You just
I don't want to wrestle in a ring with.
So there's all over the ring. So that
wrestler, like oof.
So that was bad. I mean, I've never seen.
Yeah.
Right. It was just.
And I wish about that. I wish they had used to ramp was still legal, particularly as not the floor. I had done that because they could have got away.
I can see that as well, actually.
But they didn't do so.
I mean, they had to make the ramp at the floor because it's just the way Daly's place is set up.
I will say this though, because I'm kind of with James on that purely because primarily because I picked Darby to win. So when I saw him get eliminated, it was like, oh well. But I will admit, because I somehow or another I missed that he got power bombed out of the ring onto the ramp. I knew about I remember seeing. I heard about the spot. I missed seeing it, so I didn't even realize that he was actually out of the match until they showed like a replay or whatever. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I do want to address one thing about that match, because it's still confusing to me. And again, maybe I missed it. I'm pretty sure I saw Kingston going through like the middle rope, and then he was on the apron, and then they did the finish.
Yes.
But I never saw him actually going over the top rope before the.
He never went over the top rope. No.
I mean, they messed it up.
Fair.
Like, I agree. He went through the middle rope, and then he climbed to the top rope. I mean, I guess you could say he was in the ring because he was on the top rope, and then he got thrown out. Maybe. Which is what we'll go with, or they'll he and Lance Archer will have a match on Thursday.
I just want to bring because I would like to see them do something with it, instead of it just being we just messed up, oh well. Because I feel like AEW would be the kind of company that would actually take something like that, even if it was a complete flub, even if it's a complete mistake, turn it into a storyline, even if it wasn't meant to be. But that's also because I'm a big Kingston fan, so that might have something to do with it too.
I know.
Yeah,
I think it was a flub. I think it was a flub. I think he was supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows.
Knock or something.
Like everyone knows they messed it up. It doesn't bother me, and I know most likely Eddie Kingston is probably going to complain about it on Thursday.
Right. So we'll see what happens. It'll be fun.
Yeah, Kingston should come out and go. Yeah, Kingston. Yeah, Kingston.
Yeah, I think we'll.
Should come out and go. I never know. I'll match. I want my shot, and then the Murder Hawk comes out, and then they do their thing, and then they get the match.
But just for the record, James had picked Wardlow.
That's fine. But like I said, I didn't know that. But
Sorry, yeah.
Just for the record, for the video.
I thought Wardlow was going to be in there. I thought it would have been a perfect.
I agree.
Right.
To be honest,
it would have
well,
been
surprised he
a
wasn't.
perfect spot to get Wardlow. Wardlow comes in, wins the title. He has a title shot now. Now he has a title shot. What happens with the MJF? Then you can have a little tension now that MJF is that Wardlow for having the shot, and that's demanding the.
Yeah.
All right.
No, for sure.
All right.
We'll get to that. But yeah, they could have done that. That would have been perfect.
All right. Just for the record, for the video, James had picked Wardlow, Alex had picked Darby Allin, I had picked Lance Archer. So we get that.
Perfect. You got it right.
Thinking post Alex. Winner.
I got you.
All right. After that, we did the Dark Order versus Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and Nightmares.
I'm gonna.
Right. Yeah. Right. We all picked the Dark Order. The Dark Order lost.
Here we go. This is the moment I was waiting for, because I knew, because as soon as that finish happened, and the way y'all were acting in the Discord, I knew that I was gonna have a fun time, because I mean, well, because here.
Was it?
I mean, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm mad.
I do care, but
because it makes no sense. You're trying to build.
Yes.
No, trying to build a faction. You just had Mr. Brody Lee wipe out Cody. He's gone for a bit. Let's establish him as an evil man right now. You brought in Colt Cabana as who can work his butt off. Nothing can do everything. You brought him in as now Mr. Number 2. He's like the number 2 guy now. And now you said Cody's running his backups come in, they're gonna fight them. It's a no-brainer. You have the Dark Order win this match. You have to win this match to establish them as the big threat of this place. They're trying to take over, but losing, you just killed any. Now, basically, what you've done is then at the end you have Brody just go off on his people. Looks like I've been through this before. It's cool. Don't worry about it. But now you basically made him look like a chump now, and that. So it's like.
I mean, they've been undercutting the Dark Order since the beginning.
Going with this now, if they're trying to establish like that, they have.
They're not trying to establish it because they've been undercutting the Dark Order for almost a year now. Like, other than Stu Grayson having a winning streak at the beginning of the year, like, this is what they've been doing with them. And I don't know why. I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it either. I don't get it. If you're going to do that, might as well go all the way.
They're not doing it, is what I'm saying. There is no they're building the Dark Order. They've never been building the Dark Order. The Dark Order are a stable of jobbers, and that's what they presented to us.
If y'all are done, I got some counter. I got some counter.
I'm done.
Okay, I got some counterpoints. But before I get into my counterpoints, I do want to say that there are certain parts of this that I do agree with. The main thing I agree with is that this pay-per-view was maybe a little early for the faces in this scenario to get the win back, so to speak. Like, it's a little early for them to get the revenge for Cody, because we just had Cody get decimated like 2 weeks ago. So that I definitely do agree with. However, one of my counterpoints to this is the big story that kind of played into the finish, and I know you brought it up a little bit, James, and that's the fact that Mr. Brody Lee had just, wiped out, Dustin Rhodes with the discus lariat, and was about to, he looked like he was about to go ahead and just get the pin, but he was like, no, I'm going to let Colt Cabana take this pinfall, because they've been trying to recruit him, trying to kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? Trying to kind of posture him into being a part of their whole thing. Because it's not a forceful recruitment like I was thinking they were trying to do. It's more the, hey, if you want to be a winner, because that's the whole basis of this whole thing. And that's why it's stuff like their big, what was it, the 12-man tag, when they had the 12-man tag the other week, like a few weeks ago or whatever, and there was a big win there for the Dark Order. So you have Brody Lee basically give up in what looked like an easy win, so you could have Colt Cabana take the win, because that was the whole premise of them trying to recruit Colt, was the fact that you could be a winner by joining the Dark Order. And then Colt kind of screwed it up when he went for a moonsault, and it all went to poop from there. Now,
they just undercut it like constantly anyway.
The reason I bring
you still could know.
Okay. The reason I bring it up, and because this plays into a little bit into what you were talking about in regards to the post match, it's the fact that you see Brody finally kind of like, because they were trying to be nice, they've been trying to be really nice to Colt this whole time, even if things didn't go their way or whatever. But you see Brody basically kind of snap and go off on Colt, and I think the story there is that Brody's finally starting to have starting to have enough of trying to be nice to Colt and all this.
Yeah.
And you see, and there was one touch in particular that I really like at the very end before they transitioned to the next thing, which was Evil Uno trying to reassure Colt that everything was all right, because you can tell that they're trying to, they're still gonna try to ingratiate him, but Brody's gonna finally be more and more frustrated and more upset with Colt maybe not doing so well or whatever. So so to your point, should the Dark Order have lost tonight? No, I don't think they should have lost tonight either. But I think they were trying to tell a very specific story within the finish of that. So whether or not that undercuts them as an entire unit is kind of up in the air. I don't know.
So they are undercut as a unit, but I mean the storytelling is what it is. At least
my counterpoint
does stuff with their stories.
You could have done that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, James.
Right.
You could have done that though, and my counterpoint to that is you could have done that later. You could have had Colt get the win, like that. You could have done this.
Right. Well, I mean,
Dynamite,
Colt's been getting the win
like
on Dynamite for weeks now. This is not like
where they have another match where they have to do there on that.
Like Colt has been on a winning streak since he started hanging out with the Dark Order. Joined the Dark Order.
That's my counterpoint.
So I mean, it's not like it just came out of nowhere. They've definitely been built.
So it probably just becomes a question.
It's a shame it happened. It's a shame it happened now, but it's not like it went nowhere.
I think it was too early. I think they pulled the trigger too early.
Okay, I
could have established them and then pulled.
I imagine they're probably setting up Colt with Mr. Brody Lee over the TNT title.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. So even though we might I think even though we might disagree a little bit on the timing of it, I think we're at least on the same page about like we can see the story they're telling.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
All right, we can see where the story's going, which I always appreciate about AEW.
Yeah, I see the story.
The story's always going somewhere.
Yeah, I'll give them that.
So.
I'll give them that. I appreciate the story. I see where they're going with the story. I think they just pulled the trigger too early.
Fair.
All right. So next up was Hikaru Shida defending the AEW Women's World title against the NWA Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa. We had all picked Shida, and Shida had won because, of course, Thunder Rosa is not going to win unless she joins the company. I did appreciate that they did get some stuff from Billy Corben to kind of, remind us, hey, there's wrestling outside of AEW, and that's okay. Which, we talked about on our show in the past. It's just a great counterpoint to what WWE does with the independent scene. So that's nice. The fact that Thunder Rosa was in this spot still kind of highlights the issue with the women's division, that she's just been in the company for 2 weeks and she gets a title shot because they have no one else. Hopefully Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D. or Big Swole or Nyla Rose, they start getting more opportunities. Because I like Hikaru Shida. She needs help in the division,
Yeah, I mean,
this was a great match. I enjoyed it. Like Thunder
Rosa match of the night.
Pretty good in the ring. Match of the night. I don't know.
Maybe it's a contender
It's definitely up there. It was definitely a strong match, and definitely one of the stronger women's matches we've seen on AEW in a while. So hopefully, because they have a lot of good females talent on the roster, they just don't really use them, and they don't really push storylines.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kari Shida won.
Yeah, and then like I said before in the predictions, the match was going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I already knew that, but I already knew that Shida was going to win because, again, there was no real build to it. I mean, I did like the hype video. They did something for it.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to really build that. Hey, that Rosa is a threat. And Rosa's going to take this belt and everything. It's just like it was predictable. I just like, okay, I'm gonna see a great match, but I already
getting
know.
Billy Corbin involved at least put a little bit of doubt in my mind, because now I'm thinking, oh, if he's involved, then maybe Thunder Rosa will stick around a little bit longer.
It started, and then of course it got my hopes up, because obviously on Thursday I was talking about the possibility of this leading to something with the NWA. I'm like, cool, they got Billy Corgan talking on here now.
Yeah, it's funny we did that on Thursday, because then on Friday they said the report from Billy Corbin saying, "No, we're not doing this."
I was like,
which is
thanks, Billy. Thanks for letting me know you.
Thanks for undercutting our segment.
But at least thank you for.
Yeah, thanks for undercutting.
Like, thank you, Billy, for at least letting me know you watched this show. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Thank
you, Mr. Corbin.
So now we know that Vince McMahon watches this show and Billy Corgan watches this show. Maybe we can find out.
He's not watching.
Well, not tonight. He doesn't know what's happening tonight that everyone's all excited about.
We can get
he thinks big wrestling shows are
Saturday night is racquetball.
He thinks big wrestling shows are only on Sunday night, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Oh yeah, no, it was a good match. It was a good match. I hope we see something come off of it, but I do agree that it would be nice to see some of the other women in the division step up after this.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. So after that, we did a brief backstage segment with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford announcing their engagement, and I'm gonna hijack our show for a moment.
Yep.
So I'm gonna hijack our show. Kip Sabian held up a sign advertising his stream, which I will not advertise. I will advertise twitch.tv/the Kip Sabian. I think it was. I think that's what it was. Either way, he advertised his Twitch stream, and I thought it was great because we got news reports on Friday that a memo was sent out to all WWE talent, telling them that they had 30 days to stop their extracurricular activities. So a lot of them stream on Twitch. A matter of fact, Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, is streaming right now as we speak. Some Fall Guys.
That's gonna put butts in seats.
And I think apparently he's got 738 viewers right now. So I mean, he's doing well for himself. But I mean, I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One is hold on. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One is because, and hold on, now I have to hold on because our stream froze. Is it that time of night?
Must be that time of night. The good news is I'm still doing the local.
All
right, now we gotta take a break.
He might be the few exceptions. He's never used. Did we just lose it?
It's like at the 40
I'm not looking at the stream.
Time. I don't know why. Like we're at 40 minutes now, and this happened on Thursday too.
Well, I was about to say, I know you'll get to the rant and everything. I think Creed might be the only one of the few that's immune because he's always been on the Creed, not Xavier Woods.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm touching on him, but yeah, no.
So he might be the one that slipped by.
I actually want to talk about him in a couple minutes in a way that we can just do as a separate segment for YouTube. So I'll actually start that all over.
Yeah.
That reminds me. I don't know if I should save this for when we're back on or not. But I was watching the New Legacy Inc. charity stream they did like a week or two ago. They had Evil Uno on because they were helping raise money for charity, and Austin Creed was like, you could hear Austin Creed chatting with them on voice chat or whatever during like a game of Uno. It was pretty fun. Anyway, that was just a side thing more than anything. I just thought it was cool to bring people together like that.
Yeah, that's what I said. So, but yeah, once they started, I think he's one of the few guys that. Now, what probably said is the other people comes on as their characters.
Not really. Antonio
like
Cesaro
known
also
is
he's Cesaro is just himself.
Oh,
he's not Cesaro.
Well, no,
he's whatever.
I mean, they
put him down as Cesaro.
They give like nicknames and stuff to everybody that comes on, our regular people.
Yeah, he's Tony when he's streaming.
All right, I think we're back. We're starting to come back.
Yeah.
We're starting to come
Are we back?
We're back on the green. We're doing good.
We're back on the green. Because I don't start this all over, which is fine. Just waiting for it. Hey, look, we're back on the green. Okay, so, all right, that match is done. So after the women's match, we had a brief segment with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford announcing their engagement. They've been engaged for a while, off screen, so they're announcing on screen. And you know what? I'm actually gonna hijack our videos for a moment, our stream for a moment. So Kip Sabian took a bit of a shot at WWE, which is fine. He held up a sign that advertised his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Kip Sabian, I think is what it was. Whatever it was, advertising it. And then AEW had a little thing that says AEW approves this message. And it was funny to me because we had reports coming out on Friday, so again, after our show, otherwise we were talking about this on Thursday, that because of Lana advertising an energy drink on her Instagram page, of all things, right? An energy drink. Mr. McMahon had sent out a memo to all talent telling them they have 30 days to stop doing other things outside WWE. So basically that means like Twitch, Instagram, that stuff. Anything that's not sanctioned by WWE, they want them stopped by October 3rd or whatever it was. So they have 30 days. And you know, so right now as we're streaming and as we're recording this, Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, is currently live on Twitch streaming Fall Guys, 738 people. And the reason I bring this up because it's ridiculous for a number of reasons. One, because the wrestlers are independent contractors. They don't, they're not employees of WWE. And I don't want to get into the labor or the politics of that. But and number two, and more importantly to me, is I hope that one day that we are big enough that we could stream with Xavier Woods on Twitch. Like that's the dream. I don't care. I don't care like how if we make money or not or anything like that. Like all of these wrestlers are accessible on Twitch. Like AJ Styles streams, Cesaro streams, Tyler Breeze streams. Who else streams? Kip Sabian apparently streams. Rusev, although he doesn't work for the company anymore, he streams. He actually got banned because Lana was wearing too little clothing on his stream, so he ate a ban for it. Since we're a wrestling fan show, like I want to be able to, because there's a guy I follow. He's a streamer in the Mario community, and he has played games on stream with some famous people. He played with Austin Creed, so Xavier Woods, Cesaro, and who was the third person they played with? Oh, Kofi Kingston. They played Fall Guys together, and then the same guy has also streamed with AJ Styles and Adam Cole. Like Adam Cole streams too. So I mean that's pretty cool, and I'm really upset that WWE is going to try to take that away from us.
Yeah. I was.
So.
Let me. Sorry, I don't mean to cut in. I was thinking about something because you mentioned that the thing that seemed to spur this on so quickly was the Instagram thing from Lana, and I was thinking about this a little bit because like weeks ago or maybe even months ago, I remember seeing like an ad on Facebook. I've seen a couple of them, and I just remember there was a couple of them that were interesting to me. There was some like meal plan thing, like kind of like exactly that kind of thing. And the first one I had seen had Alexa Bliss, but she wasn't featured as Alexa Bliss. She was featured by her real name, Lexi Coffin or whatever. I don't remember the exact name. So it was under her real name.
Alexa
and then more recently, there was an ad featuring Roman Reigns, but not as Roman Reigns. That had his real name, Joe Anai.
I can't
So I bring this up because apparently it seems so there's the whole Twitch, there's the Twitch aspect of it, there's the Cameo aspect of it, but there's also just the fact that from what I was hearing, from what I was reading, it sounds like a greater concern was over the use of the actual names that are technically trademarks of WWE to represent other brands
Well, apparently they're claiming that they also own their real names.
That's been updated. That apparently that was not necessarily the case. I don't know. I think sometimes I'm just gonna say it right now. I think sometimes news sites are so apt to try to be the first ones to I think they're so sometimes
or just to take the most extreme
position. I was gonna say sometimes I think they're so quick or they're so worried about how quickly they can get the news out that they don't necessarily get the facts all straight. That's what it seems sometimes, and this is one of those times that it feels a little evident. But yeah, so that so there's more. It's to me, there's more the issue of should the wrestlers be, should the I guess it's like a weird brand value thing or whatever.
I guess you. Should the wrestlers be using their wrestling names? And I think no, right? Because they're characters on TV show.
More so for WWE than probably AEW has their way of handling it. WWE has their way of handling it, and obviously independent wrestlers, that's a whole different thing entirely because they're not signed with companies per se.
I mean, we're gonna have to see how they end up handling this, but if they're just trying to stop them from doing other things, and they need to make them employees, and that and all the stuff that goes along with that. Otherwise, you can't really say what a person. And even then, I'm an employee at a company. We're doing this, right? They can't stop me from doing this. My
thought on this is, and I can, as I said, I was thinking before, I can understand his. He's trying to do, but one, very bad timing. Two, a lot of these people, because of what's happening out there, are doing the streams and are doing their and everything because they can't do the live, tours, do the house shows. They can't do the meet and greets and everything, and so they're trying to supplement the and all this wrong. What's happening is now he's shining light for the thing that snuck this under the radar with the independent contract, and just on the edge of this. That's BS, but they've never had to really challenge because they'd always be able to keep it like that. By doing this, he's made a stand and shone light on it, and it can hurt him in the long run. Long run is hurt, and now I always thought the independent contractors stuff with their employees. They're not independent contractors. They have care and benefits as employees. They're performers. Even in the movie industry, they have insurance and everything for anything, sports, anything. Yeah, but this again, it's a bad move. It's a bad timing. I think it's going to backfire. We might end up seeing him back. He might back. And there's a lot of things is they're still not wanting to eat it. Is what does he discipline is what they're doing.
Right. I mean,
what like I said, Austin Creed. He's always been under Austin Creed. He's never used Xavier Woods. He's always been his name. So he could be one of the few people that he could be exempt in that.
I mean, they're not.
He's probably talking about people using
I don't think anything's
name
and
everything like that.
AJ Styles does it, and he's too big to discipline over this. Unless AJ Styles takes one for the team and decides, okay, I'm going to listen to this, right? He Styles because his name, he owns AJ Styles.
AJ.
So but he's too big of a star to punish over this. I could see if it was just Xavier Woods, sure, they'll release him, I guess. But anyway, back to AEW.
All right.
So we did. So we were back in AEW, and we had our Hangman and Kenny Omega versus FTR, Fear the Revelation. That's what they call themselves.
I thought it was Fear the Revolution.
I don't know. They call themselves a Revelation on Thursday. Anyway, for the AEW Tag Team Championship, and your new AEW Tag Team Champions are FTR. After Kenny Omega accidentally hit the V-trigger knee thing into Hangman Page, and then he got shot blocked and somehow was never able to stand again for the rest of the match, even though the match went on for another 2 minutes, just so we can have another false finish and then final.
It was a
it up. But yeah, FTR, your champ.
I wiped him out. Then
I can't believe it.
After that, he
was able to work perfect. I can't believe we got new champions after all that. I'm only saying that because I was dumb enough to pick the champs to retain. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So James and I picked FTR, and then Alex picked Hangman and Omega.
Like I said before, it wasn't a matter of FTR winning. That was fine. You knew they were going to win. It was a matter of how they're going to sell, the breakup. Roberts was going to do it, who, what, and everything like that. And like I said, that ending, I just didn't like that ending. I mean, he got, like I said, and then suddenly he's fine. When he walked out, he was mad.
Right. They didn't go the route I expected them to. Like, I expected some sort of, physicality to happen either during the match or after the match. Instead, Omega just kind of stormed off.
And I will admit it was.
And then they did
I was gonna say I found it to be an interesting post match, to be honest, because I also was expecting them to have Kenny beat up Hangman or vice versa, but no, Kenny was just no, I'm done with you, Hangman, and just walked off. And then kind of left the Bucks in the middle of whatever. The Bucks were the ones who basically kicked Hangman out of the Elite after he cost them their chance to go for the titles. But after Kenny's attitude after the match, it's just kind of now they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck somewhere in between being straight up heels and being faces or whatever. And it is a little weird, but I do think that for and I made a joke about this in the Discord. For those who just like storytelling in general, especially actual proper progression in a story, and for those who just hate the Elite in general, I think this gave everybody something to look forward to, because now you finally have the Elite in a situation where they're not on top of the world by any means. You have Cody's out with injury. You have Hangman got kicked out, him being kicked out because of him buddying up to FTR and costing the Bucks a chance at the titles. And now, Kenny can't stand Hangman, and he's having some issues with the Bucks because of that, for whatever reason. It's going to be one of those things to probably watch to see what the follow-up is come Dynamite. But the point is, the Elite's in a weird state now because they're either beat up, to an extent they're beat up and at odds with each other. So, it's interesting, if nothing else.
Kenny turns heel.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying it was interesting that they didn't just have one
on the Elite beats up the Bucks.
Right, they don't blow off stories real fast in AEW. They really do
the clean
long-term storytelling, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
All right, so.
But again, the Bucks thing, it's kind of the Bucks thing is just it.
Right, it's long-term storytelling because
makes sense. I didn't really hear what they were saying, but.
Well, so I mean, the thing is to watch Being the Elite, otherwise you miss that context. Which I don't watch the Being the Elite because I only have so much time for wrestling in a week.
Yeah, I don't either. So that's another issue I have.
Right,
I don't like.
Let's not rehash that because we talked
story on
well, I think the point to take away from it is, even if you didn't see Being the Elite, the thing you can take away from it at least is that Kenny's done with Hangman. And he was ready to just leave the arena. He was ready to just go home or go back to his hotel or whatever after that. And he gave the Bucks a choice. Well, yeah, he left, and he gave the Bucks a choice. They can either just go ride with him and go back to their hotel or whatever, or they can stick around for whatever reason, I mean, technically, that is a quick reminder. All three of them are technically EVPs of the company. That would be one reason they would stick around. But my point is, they had the choice of either going with him or staying behind. They chose to stay behind. So that's the story that they're gonna start they're gonna tell a story based off of what happened there. So, yeah.
Anyway.
So, yep.
All right. So our penultimate match was your demo god, Chris Jericho versus freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and we have a new freshly squeezed savior as Orange Cassidy wins the feud. Finally. After 14 weeks. 14 weeks of this. He's won the feud in the Mimosa Mayhem match, which what they did with the Mimosa Mayhem was actually great. Like, I've never seen a dumb stipulation used so well when they had the two platforms built on both sides of the ring. Like, it made sense for what it was. That there was, like, you know, when WWE does these gimmick matches, like, let's throw someone in a thing. It ends up on the stage, like, far away from the ring. But this time they built the platforms in for the ring. So it was, you know, this is a legitimate way to win. You just throw someone into the Mimosa. A couple tables, which Orange Cassidy went through one of them, and then I think took the other table to the face. And then ultimately, yeah, he got his clean-ish win over Chris Jericho. I think the one thing the feud was missing was a decisive win. I mean, I guess this one's decisive, even though it's just throwing into a vat.
If I had seen, it's my fault. It's my fault. If I
great, you cannot have a problem. This was absolutely wonderful.
No, I mean a problem with the
picture. Oh, I got you.
Jericho, what he's saying, I made him a main event guy. If I had seen that,
okay, we lost James.
Promo before I made.
Oh, I got you. If you'd seen the promo,
main guy. Yeah. Then he said that.
I got you. Yeah, as soon as you saw that promo, you were
I said, if I had seen the promo, I made Cassie a main event guy. Yeah, I knew it.
Excellent. We're all on.
Oh crap!
We're
he just
all on
telegraphed.
Team Orange after this, then apparently, and that is great to hear. You love to see it.
Yeah.
Freshly squeezed.
No, I'm just. And Jericho, doesn't he look like an old?
Yeah, he's slowly.
Oh, is his character now old?
Old
now?
I think he's slowly leaning into the.
He's like
being the daddy of the AEW roster or something. He's definitely leaning into.
Like Rock. Yeah. He's like Ozzy Osbourne. He's like Ozzy Osbourne of wrestling.
He's the demo god.
I mean, yeah.
He's becoming that 80s rocker guy.
The 49 male demographic, didn't you hear?
I mean, honestly, that is kind of that's a fair assessment, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I overall I liked it. It was a lot of fun.
Because that's the first time I actually seen him.
No, to me that was match.
Yeah, it was.
That was my match of the night.
I'd like the Casino match, but it was a Shida match.
Right.
But no, the only thing
it was a gimmick I had with this made sense, which was fine.
Is I didn't like the part of it. I would like to. I would have liked to have just been the winner has to be put in and everything like that. I didn't like the pin and stuff. I just didn't.
Well,
I didn't like that. Okay, the nutrition and
I'll tell you what. I'll give you that. I once again would like to give a small counterpoint. I think the reason they also had the pin and submission aspect to it was because it's the rubber match and they did want to have some sort of it's kind of weird because they wanted to have a decisive win for whoever was going to win it, and that's why it was only pinfall or submission. That's why there was no DQ or count out. But then you had this kind of weird stipulation added as well because the feud let's not forget the feud basically started because Orange Cassidy got orange juice all over Chris Jericho's jacket. So it's not.
I mean that was like.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I remember now. I'm sorry because I remember you even pointed this out before. It started because of. Jericho calling out the baddest man on the planet, and instead of Mike Tyson, it was.
It started a couple weeks before because Orange Cassidy walked through the middle of an interview the Inner Circle was doing.
See, you almost forget sometimes with how long-term storylines get. Right. You almost forget how it starts.
It was a long-term storyline, like I said. I had no problem with the match having the additional stipulation of humiliating your opponent instead of defeating them. It made sense for what we were doing, with the feud overall.
Yeah,
I
mean, you could have done without the stipulation.
Well,
You still could have decisive
whatever.
win. He
But
still looked good. I think it was a way for Jericho to take the loss and not get pinned.
But I mean, they actually went out with the stipulation. They built it as part of the ring, and it made sense. So, it wasn't just a kiddie pool
so I understand
that you had to go out of your way to and drag them to. It was with as part of.
They took Jacuzzi. They basically built a.
I mean, right? They took something, but the point is, it wasn't like a kiddie pool act on the stage that they had to go out of their way to do.
That's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine for what it was.
I did. Normally with these stipulations,
I mean, I like it. I understand.
It would be like calling a cage match, but having the cage on the stage. While
I'm fine. I'm fine. Like I said, it was for what it was. It was a decent match. Jericho could still go.
It's a match of the night. Anyway, main event.
Orange Cassidy's always not a fan. See what you like. See what you like about him.
Main event. All right, so let's do that because I do want to wrap the show because we've already been on the line for an hour. We are at the main event, which is Jon Moxley has retained his AEW World Championship against MJF. I had correctly picked Moxley because I knew that AEW was not going to pull the trigger as much as we wanted them to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, cool match.
MJF should have won. I'm sorry.
There's a couple things I highlighted there that I realized that maybe this shouldn't have happened. One of the things that they did highlight right at the beginning that really made me think, wow, this is really dumb. Why is MJF the number one contender? Because Jon Moxley is 16-0, so he's had 16 matches this year, and MJF has only had 8 matches in 8 months.
And he's still undefeated in those, at least in the singles.
Yeah, they kept him
I mean, he was undefeated, but the point is he was never wrestling, so why is he the number one contender? So they pulled the trigger on this too early. On MJF.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
It was really jarring. Like, oh my gosh, he wrestles less than Peter Avalon does. Peter Avalon.
He does. They basically using him. They're basically using.
And they said even in the match, like
promos and stuff. That's fine. I thought if they're gonna pull the trigger to give him the title.
Yeah. MJF has not wrestled in 42 days. Like, oh wow, well this is no good. Like,
yeah, that's why I picked him to win. I was like, you're gonna pull the trigger on him, the number one contender. He's gonna get the title shot.
I'm starting to realize something.
Given, I mean, because then you could have sold.
We lost you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, you could have sold. Then he looked over. What I was saying was you could have sold him winning, and then having him to look over to the Murder Hawk, saying, "I'm going to kill you." And you could have him looking in his face like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I mean,
like that. You could
they telegraphed Moxley winning.
Like that.
Lance Archer is not going to feud with MJF. They're both bad guys.
They telegraphed Moxley winning. Yeah.
I mean,
but Archer won. Moxley. I was like.
It was. I mean, whatever. I mean, that happens all the time when you set up the number one contender before you finish a title match.
That would have been very cool. Would have been fine as taking as a champion.
Right. I mean, overall, they pulled the trigger on MJF way too early if they weren't going to have him win. But I mean, it was a nice match. And it was the best match.
That's supposed to be a battle royal. That's supposed to be a battle royal at the end of the show.
No, the show. You do the title match at the end of the show, so you don't declare the number one contender before you've settled the title match. But that's neither here nor there. I thought it was good. I mean, it was a good match, and it was probably the best match.
No, what I mean about it is if you're going to do a battle royal for a number one contender,
right?
You do a battle royal for a number one contender.
They should not do it on the same show, but it's
billed as the final thing, so you don't have a prediction.
Right.
Yeah, you don't do it on the same show. Yeah, right. You don't do it on the same show. Do it on the show.
I'll tell you what was a fun version of what they were going for. The very original version of the match back at All In, which was I think 2018 or 2017. My dates are a little bit weird, but they did a thing. Where the right, because the All In Battle Royal, the way they did that there during the 0 hour special was whoever won that would get the, I think it was, That was a little bit different. I'm sorry, I should probably clarify because that was for the ROH title because this was
Yeah, that was.
this was before AEW obviously started. But my point was it was interesting because what they did there was they had the title match later that night. That's always interesting. Maybe they weren't gonna. I don't think.
I mean, it's a common wrestling trope that I think is harmful because they constantly declare number one contenders before title matches are settled. Like we see it all the time, and it's not just tonight. This is not the first time it's ever happened.
I used to like what E used to do when they had.
Right, no, but WWE does it all the time too. They'll do the number one contender match in the same show they're doing the title match.
I think that the good example of it that I think James is trying to get at is the.
I like it better.
When the Royal Rumble's the main event, that's actually pretty cool because like you get the champion and then you find out who's potentially going to face him at WrestleMania. That's a good example of doing something like that. But I do hear you on that. Doing the other way around is always kind of weird.
That's a good way of doing it like that.
Shoot, I forgot the point I was trying to make.
You do it on say Dynamite every show.
I don't know because I want to talk about the match and just what you thought about the match.
Think about the cash in the first time when Hangman Page had. You'll say when Hangman Page won.
Right. All right. I just want to talk about this match. I don't want to.
Where he won it, and then
I want to stay focused on this match and not worry about what else is going on 3 years ago.
The match itself was fine. It was a decent match. I thought it was a well done, slow pace but well done, built-in ramp. I did call when he got slammed into the post that he's gonna blade.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to get the blood and everything. So they.
Yeah, too much blood.
MJF, he's cocky,
overdid the blood.
brash. They were trying to do.
It was definitely a blade job that did it in the first place.
Yeah, I know, but I knew it the minute he hit the pause. Like
right, it too much blood for my taste.
He's blading. And then what they were trying to sell is, I know what they're trying to sell is that this is MJF's baptism. He finally proves that he's tough enough to handle this, everything, and they were trying to sell it that way, and that's the way they sold it. Of that they're selling thinks he's ready. He's not. We're not sure he's ready, and he fought his way through bleeding, and then he got outsmarted at the end.
All right.
I think that's where they were going with that.
Let's wrap this up then. Let's give a show grade. Grade the show, James. Overall, what letter grade?
Decent show. I mean, I don't know anything, but I say
I'm gonna give it an A- because there were a couple definite dips, but it didn't really impact the overall grade that much to me. So I'm gonna give it A-.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree. I think A- as well. I think it was probably the best show of the month since we've had, my gosh, 3 or 4 pay-per-views this month.
I won't give that. I won't say it's the best show.
I think it was. I think the matches were the best, up and down the card, the storytelling. So.
Oh yeah.
A couple things that were telegraphed ahead of time, which took away. It takes away, but it doesn't take away. Like I don't. It doesn't bother me when storytelling has a obvious conclusion, because if it has a good conclusion, then that's all that matters. That means it's something's being done right.
Not everything has to be a shock just for the sake of it being a shock.